Hello, I'm Ken Farr. Grab a tea or coffee and join me now for this week's Baton Rouge Press Club Highlights Report.
What also makes Louisiana unique is I've got 12,000 bridges to take care of in the state of Louisiana. And for my friends in West Baton Rouge, there's only one bridge right now that matters to them. But I've got 12,000 of them to take care of in the state of Louisiana. And this shows you how many of those bridges are load posted. That simply means that they cannot carry the weight that the bridge was originally designed for. We've got the fourth largest bridge deck area in the country here in Louisiana, and that simply means bridges are disproportionately more expensive to maintain than are roads. You can have a great road with a bad bridge, you get absolutely nowhere. What have we done in spite of those situations? Well, in Louisiana, since 2016, we've received more discretionary funding from the federal government than ever before for the state of Louisiana. I spoke to Lamoga last week, and I gave them a short statistic that said if you add up every week I've been secretary and add about $2 million every week, that's what we've received from the U.S. Department of Transportation. That's in part because we're asking for the right things. That's in part because we work with our congressional delegation. That's in part because we're doing what the federal government is asking us to do, is to take care of our systems. We've led over 860 construction projects worth about $1.7 billion in about 3 years. We doubled the Port Priority Program to $40 million. From day one of this administration, we eliminated the diversions before the constitutional amendment had passed. And after the great floods of 2016, I thought it was unthinkable if we continued to spend $8 million on flood control. So we're now spending out of TTF about $20 million in flood control. And those are projects that the locals are going to be implementing and managing for their system. We've also been successful at working to fund decades-old projects like the Comeet Diversion Project that got fully funded. And at a time when many folks were saying, let's just walk away and go do it ourselves when we could not afford it, we were able to work with our congressional delegation to make that possible. And with their help, we were able to secure full funding for that project, and we expect to break ground later next month. So you can see we've got a lot to celebrate, but there's still some challenges ahead, and that's always going to be the case. The most exciting thing about what I'm doing in infrastructure is you get to see the work. The first one is I-10, traveling from Lafayette to the Chaffalot Basin. That first segment, and Miles can show you this one and then the next one, those are pavement projects that are replacing the original pavement that Eisenhower built. Because the federal government is making me manage my system with performance standards, I have to report where our poor and very poor conditions are. And our freight corridor is I-10. That corridor had 2% of the interstate rank poor or very poor. After this project is done, we're going to have less than 0.5% that's considered poor or very poor for the entire length of I-10 from state line to state line. The first segment is about 60% complete, and in fact, on Saturday, we put folks on the new pavement while we go and remove the old existing pavement. So we're making tremendous progress. Even in the Breaux Bridge area, you're going to have some really nice roundabouts once we're done, where we're not just building new roads, but we're improving drainage. We had an area get flooded under there, and before, businesses were flooding. I was able to stand there and say, I'd rather have my road flood than your business flood every day. That's a progress point that I'm very proud of in terms of those roundabouts. And then you come down to Highland to 73. That's the other widening project. It's the fastest design build in the history of Louisiana for transportation, and that simply means that we are working in a much more efficient way. We estimate that we'll finish this project in 2020, and it was a design build worth about $72 million. That's going to save about 15 minutes of commute time going and coming for folks coming into Baton Rouge from Ascension or going south from here. And here's another one I like, the Terrace-Washington Street interchange. If we had not gotten the Fast Lane grant, this wouldn't have happened. We begin designing this at risk, which means if I don't have the funds to build it, I have to pay for it out of my existing federal funds. So we designed it at risk, and because of that Fast Lane grant, this project was awarded, and it's under construction, and it will be open in July of 2019. Is this the panacea for Baton Rouge? Absolutely not. But what it will do is prevent that three-lane merge from the 110 going to the Washington interchange, and it's going to allow folks to not back up traffic as much. So that's a real practical solution, and it was only $8.7 million. For those of you who live in West Baton Rouge, you may have seen a lot of the frustration on LA1. I will tell you, the bridge over the Intercoastal needs to be changed. It should have been changed a while ago.
Join us every Tuesday for the Baton Rouge Press Club Highlights Report. And I will see you next time right here on NewsNet, Baton Rouge.